Okay, so in recent Nintendo news, what they're saying is that it's difficult but not impossible. So what I'm hearing is that there is still a chance that the Metroid Prime Trilogy could hit the Nintendo Switch, right? In all seriousness, this is kind of bad news for those 3 games hitting the Nintendo Switch. Or is it? Hey guys, it's Rob here, and welcome back to the Robo-chan Show, where we cover the latest gaming news, leaks, and rumors from Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo in 2020 and beyond. If you want to be kept up on the latest gaming news, make sure you click that red subscribe button below this video and that notification bell so you know when I upload. And if you're interested, I have a Patreon, which link to that will be in the pinned comment along with my Twitter account. In this video, we're going to talk about some recent Nintendo Switch news that has happened over the past couple days. This includes the Metroid Prime Trilogy news, Nintendo talking about keeping up with new technology, a trademark that has been registered for a GameCube series called Baten Kaitos, I probably said that wrong, and apparently Epic Games is trying to get not only Microsoft and Sony first-party games on the Epic Store, but also Nintendo first-party titles, which I think we can all guess how that's going to go. If you guys enjoyed this video, leave a like, it helps YouTube push the video into the algorithm, and if you want to help me reach my goal of 500 followers on Twitter, you can follow me at roborob93. Without further delay, let's get to the video. So first up, let's talk about the main topic I used for the title of this video, and what I think is probably the main draw for you guys who clicked on the video. The Metroid Prime Trilogy is one of those games that holds more than one game from a series that is much beloved. Similar to how a lot of people wanted the Super Mario 3D All-Stars, the Metroid Prime Trilogy is around that level of excitement. And this is only heightened by Metroid Prime 4 simply existing, bringing Metroid Prime and that series into the forefront of gaming. Although, if I am being honest, it is dying off a bit in my opinion, since Nintendo really hasn't talked about it a lot. And if you were losing hope on seeing anything Metroid Prime related this year, former Retro Studio employee Mike Walken, who was the lead designer on all 3 Metroid Prime games, said some interesting things to a Metroid Prime account that pretty much all but dashes hope for the Metroid Prime Trilogy on the Nintendo Switch. Well, mostly anyways, because there are some things you have to consider, which I'll talk about after I read off this quote. That would take a lot of effort, so I'm pretty skeptical it will happen. It was straightforward to update Metroid Prime 1 and 2 to motion controls, but converting Metroid Prime 3 to normal controls would be a Herculean effort, as it is scripted very specifically using volumetric triggers to detect the motion in precise manners to do specific switches, and the bosses are tuned to take into account to the ease of gestural aiming. The biggest issue is Retro no longer has functional editor tools to work with Metroid Prime code base, so everything has to be brute force hard-coded. Rebuilding the hundreds of interaction sets in Metroid Prime 3 alone, not to mention retuning the gameplay to take into a slower engagement pacing of conventional controls, would probably take a year with 4 to 5 person team full-time by itself. So by the sound of it, just like many games Nintendo has made, it's all a matter of getting around the controls, but in Metroid Prime 3, 2, and 1, it's a little bit more than that. If I recall, there are some similar quotes about Kid Icarus Uprising on the Nintendo Switch, which a lot of people do want. Now, there are a couple things that you have to consider. One, this doesn't necessarily mean that it isn't gonna happen. This is a former employee, so he no longer works at the company. Two, he isn't saying that it's impossible, he's saying it would be really difficult, and as we've seen with The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword, getting around controls and other problems is entirely possible, but again, more difficult with these games. Another thing you have to consider is that this game has been rumored for a very long time, way back when during the 2018 Game Awards according to VGC, and this is what they had to say about that. According to Fanbyte's Inron Com, Metroid Prime Trilogy HD was originally planned to be announced at 2018's Game Awards in December, right around the time Metroid Prime 4's development was rebooted. Now, to try to give you guys a tiny ray of hope, what I could see happening is that Nintendo could still put out this game. It could be ready or even close to being done, and they're just waiting for the right time, essentially using the Metroid Prime Trilogy as a way to set up Metroid Prime 4, and a delay, if you want to call that, for the trilogy is a byproduct of Metroid Prime 4 being delayed, but that's just my speculation based on the restart development and rumors. But moving on to the next topic, a Bandai Namco series could be coming back, and that series is called Baten Kaitos. I might have said that wrong, and if I did, tell me in the comment section below. It has been discovered that Bandai Namco has registered 2 trademarks in Europe for a GameCube series Baten Kaitos. The trademarks covered Baten Kaitos Origins and Baten Kaitos Eternal Wings and The Lost Ocean. Although the trademarks could be standard renewals, it would be amazing if this series has actually revived. So upon looking into this game, it does stray a bit away from the usual RPG mechanics. It's opting for a more card-based attack system rather than your usual RPG mechanics like Final Fantasy or your action RPG games. Although some action RPGs do do actually use card-based attacks like Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories. Now the curious thing about this is Dragon Ball Z Kakarot is rumored for the Nintendo Switch as well. This really makes me wonder if Bandai Namco has any other plans to bring its games to the Nintendo Switch, because if you remember, there was also some rumors about Ni no Kuni coming to the Nintendo Switch as well not too long ago. Which is really no surprise because E3 is coming up and it makes a lot of sense that these things are going to pop up, trademarks and rumors and whatnot. Tell me in the comment section below on what other Bandai Namco games you would like to see on the Nintendo Switch. And moving on to the next topic, it seems that Nintendo is opening up a little bit more about the rapidly advancing technology and what they plan to do. In other words, how does Nintendo plan on staying competitive when new tech appears? Now this probably immediately makes your mind jump to the Nintendo Switch Pro, but I think it's more than that, not just new technology in the actual Nintendo Switch and other devices. I honestly think they're not even talking about the tech in the console itself, but from what I understand anyways, the techniques used in video game development, and this is what they had to say. We need to secure cash reserves to ensure financial stability, but if we need to respond to rapidly advancing technology innovation, we may acquire companies that possess the technology. So by the sounds of it, this is basically Nintendo saying that they are looking to acquire new studios, and not just any old studios that have developed new technology and new techniques during game development. This could lead to a whole slew of new developers and new IPs for the Nintendo Switch. One of the issues that a lot of people have for Nintendo, not me personally, but a lot of other people, is that they have the same games, or they make a lot of sequels or remasters or ports and whatnot. And yeah, they do have a point. We have seen a lot of ports, remasters, and sequels and whatnot. But for me, it's the portable aspect of the Nintendo Switch that adds value to that and worth bringing back these games in ports and remasters. But anyways, if Nintendo does acquire new studios, that would be really great because we could finally get some new IPs. And we know when Nintendo makes a new IP, usually it's really good. And not only for old IPs, but this is also great for old franchises coming back as well. F-Zero, Kid Icarus, Pokemon Stadium, all these great games that we haven't seen in a very long time could be made. Now, Pokemon Stadium might not be made by a new studio. It would probably be made by Game Freak or someone who worked on Pokemon games, but you guys get my point. But anyways, tell me in the comment section what companies would you like to see Nintendo acquire. And our last topic is a pretty funny one in my opinion. So the whole Epic versus Apple court case has gave us a lot of insight into both companies. I mean, in my last video I talked about Xbox expecting games like Breath of the Wild 2, Metroid Prime 4, Bayonetta 3, and other Nintendo Switch games releasing in 2020. Which honestly is kind of dumb to expect, especially Metroid Prime 4 because that restarted development in 2019. But anyways, the news that Epic Games is trying to get Sony, Nintendo, and Microsoft first-party games on their game store has appeared, and this is how they plan to do it apparently. So on the Sony side of things, they're offering $200 million for 4 to 6 titles. Unfortunately for Epic, they're still waiting for feedback from Sony. And on Microsoft's side, things aren't really going too well either with the conversation between Epic and Microsoft. According to Microsoft, it goes against what they're trying to do with Game Pass. Now the Nintendo side of things is kind of hilarious because all it says is "not started" is a moonshot onto itself. And then it says corporate history says this is a non-starter. It's just really funny to me how it just says a moonshot onto itself. Like that's just Nintendo with their IPs. They don't want anyone else having it except themselves. I mean, even back in the day when they were more lenient with Mario appearing on other platforms, but now it's the exact opposite. The Apple versus Epic court case keeps giving us really interesting information that we otherwise wouldn't have gotten if it wasn't for this court case. And I'll keep you guys updated if any other cool things or funny things happen out of this. But aside from that, that's all I have for you guys today. If you enjoyed this video and want to be kept up on the latest gaming news, subscribe to Rob Gaming for more gaming news. Thanks for watching guys, and remember, stay safe, stay charged, and have a good one.